Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 1011 Now streaming studio. I'm Madison Pitch, joined by Jared Minari from the Lincoln Lancaster County Crime Stoppers. It's a long title, Jared. I'm realizing that every week. How are you doing?
We could add in LPD and all that stuff too, but yeah, let's just stick with that. That's fine.
Yeah, we need to come up with a cute little abbreviation for Lincoln Lancaster County. So how are you doing?
Doing good, doing good.
Good, all right. We've got a couple of cases to look over today. We're going to talk about Zoodunnit.
Yep.
And I think that's pretty much all we've got on the docket for today. Is that right?
Yep.
All right, let's do it. Case number 1, work truck stolen. Tell me what you got on this.
This is back on July 26th. It was a Wednesday. And what ends up happening is this white Ford F-150 you can see in the far right corner there. This guy comes up on a bike, and he basically just kind of checks in this truck. What we find out later is the owner of this vehicle, it's a work truck, left the keys in the truck, so maybe it left the door open, and he was able to just basically get in the truck and drive off. Of course, he takes that bike, throws it in the back, and then just takes off in this truck. So obviously, we were looking for this truck. The interesting thing is only a couple of days after this, we had a road rage incident on Friday, July 28th that sounds like it could be related to this. And basically, a similar sounding truck, it was driving eastbound on Holdridge at a high rate of speed. Basically, somebody else kind of sees it and kind of does the whole, like, what are you doing? Like, he's going so fast. And it must have angered the driver of this truck, and he gets out at 84th and Holdridge, tries to confront the victim in this case in his vehicle. It sounds like the victim kind of took off southbound on 84th Street. That truck then pursued him by passing vehicles in turn lanes and throwing stuff at the victim's car. And in the end, he ends up using this, potentially using this truck to ram the driver's side of the victim's vehicle, which when we find the truck later, you can see it has the damage that we think is probably consistent with this accident. So we're still trying to tie all this together, but there's a good chance this could be related to it. Then in the end, we end up finding the truck, and that was a few days after that, so that would be back on August 1st, and we found that at 80th and Lake Street. And if you see here, the last place that this truck was seen was turning into that Somerset apartment complex there at 8341 Carl Ridge Road. So we don't know if maybe there's some tie to that, but the truck was located very close to that, right at 80th and Lake Street, which is in the area of 84th and South Street. So maybe somebody saw something back then that kind of stands out. Maybe you're a resident, you notice that truck that's been there for a while, saw somebody getting in and out of it. We're just kind of hoping somebody can help us identify the guy. We did have a description from the driver of the victim's vehicle of what the suspect in that truck looked like. So we're thinking it could be this white male, approximately mid-30s, skinny. They say that he had multiple arm tattoos, and at the time he was wearing all black clothing. So maybe that'll trip somebody up, and they'll say, hey, that sounds like somebody I know.
Okay, so that truck was stolen July 26th, 6:30 in the morning is what I've got on my sheet.
That's correct. Yep.
So it's gone for about 5 days? 4 or 5 days?
So he's probably driving around for a while. So maybe if you know somebody that was driving a truck like that for 5 days and then it was gone again, maybe they'll stand out.
And the truck has been recovered, which is good. I don't know if we can speed up or whenever it comes around. There was a dent on the front. This is where it was last seen. What was that address?
So that would have been over at 80th and Lake Street.
80th and Lake. Now, if somebody knows something, saw him out on the road, what do they need to do?
Obviously, you can always call Crime Stoppers. If you want to call the police department, you're welcome to do that as well. But if you want to remain anonymous or you want to be eligible for a reward, you have to call that Crime Stoppers number or contact us through the many options, which, of course, you can call that police department at 441-6000. You can also call Crime Stoppers at 475-3600. And then, of course, you can always go on LincolnCrimeStoppers.com, see all the cases we're posting there, but also give a tip on this case. And finally, if you want to use your phone and download the P3 app, it's a pretty convenient way to give tips to Crime Stoppers, and that also allows you to kind of track the tip that you've given. So if you want to be getting a reward, that might be the easiest way to do it.
That is just, leaving your keys in your vehicle can be a very expensive mistake, can't it?
Yep. I'm not too sure why people still do it these days, but it happens. I mean, it's been years. We get a lot of people that leave their cars running at a gas station while they run in, or just leave the keys in the vehicle. I mean, just from a safety standpoint, it's just not a good idea nowadays. Just protect yourself if you just lock those cars up and put the keys in your pocket.
Rule number 1, do not leave your keys in your car. What kind of charges would this man be looking at?
Obviously, we've got larceny of a vehicle. We've got a potential like assault or hit and run. So, I mean, we could be looking at some felony charges here.
Okay. Let's go ahead and get into our second case. We've got a man breaking into a laundry room. Tell me what's happening here.
So this couple was seen in an apartment building near 27th and A Street back on August 4th. This is, again, early in the morning, about 6:30 in the morning. They were in this apartment complex's laundry room, and they're using bolt cutters trying to get into the laundry machine. I'm guessing they're probably just trying to steal the quarters out of the machine, which they were unsuccessful at in the end, but they sure gave it the old college try. So what's interesting about this case is this same apartment complex has had a problem with this recently. They've had at least 4 other cases within the last year, and so they decided to put this camera up, and here we've got this. So we're seeing if maybe even if we can solve this case, maybe it will also lead to solving some of these other cases in the past where similar incidences have happened with similar descriptions of suspects. One thing that we did note in the end of this is that obviously there's some damage to the machine, which wasn't a large amount of damage, but obviously the poor person that has the apartment complex is now going to have to pay to fix all this.
Yeah.
And in the end, they left behind this Evo Bar vape machine. So if you know maybe somebody that looks kind of like these two and they smoke one of these Evo Bar vapes, maybe that'll help key it in that you know who this person is. So I thought we'd mention that. We did, of course, collect that. So our forensics will also be examining that as well. But we could definitely use a tip to help tie someone in that we can then match that to. So.
Yeah, so you're looking for 2 people here, a man and a woman. We just saw them. This happened Friday, August 4th, 6:30 in the morning, so not too long ago.
Right.
Do you think watching this video, is this a repeat?
Well, obviously with the matching descriptions that they've had in the past, it's a good possibility. The owner of the business says that this is normally a locked door, so they thought maybe that the lock was picked or slipped somehow. So it's a possibility that these two have kind of fine-tuned their practice on this and maybe have done this on multiple occasions. We don't know. Well, one of the reasons we want to identify them, maybe interview them and see just kind of what we can figure out about this.
Kind of hard watching them struggle, isn't it?
I wouldn't say it's hard watching them struggle. It's not a lot of work for not a lot of money, but you know.
Yeah, there isn't that much money in those.
Not usually. I think when I was
there.
looking it up, I think maybe $7,500 is like max you're probably going to get one of those machines. But if you're living on the street, maybe, and that's what you need for whatever living that day, might be just enough to get you by. But.
Yeah. Would be hard to sneak around with that many quarters too. So you feel like they'd be able to find them pretty quick.
Yeah, if you know anybody that's been paying for a lot of stuff in quarters, that might be something we could use as a tip as well.
Yeah. Now, if this was someone that somebody knows, and we've got some pretty good video and photo evidence of them, they want to report it, they can do it anonymously.
Absolutely.
Walk me through the reporting and how it stays anonymous.
Sure. So basically, if you get that tip to Crime Stoppers, what they're going to do is they cleanse that tip. They take out all the identifying information, so that way, no matter what, it can't ever come back to you. Any tip that's coming through, like the phone or the computer, all that stuff is blocked, so there's no way for us to access that as the police department side to find out who those people are that are tipping. So that's how they keep you anonymous. They're going to give you a tipster ID number as you call in or when you do it online. And so you want to keep that tipster ID number, and that's what's going to help designate you for a potential reward down the road if it does get solved. If you lose that tip ID, we can't help you. We don't know who you are. So make sure if you do give a tip, you keep that. Or that's the nice thing about that P3 app is if you're using that to log in, that will hold your tip ID number in there with your tips. So in the end, they protect you. They give a potential reward. Once the case is cleared by the officer, that goes back to our Civilian Crime Stoppers board, and then they would vote on what the reward would be for that case. And then once you call in and ask if the case was cleared, they're going to tell you whether there's a reward for your case or not.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to reiterate over and over and over. You only get a tip if you report anonymously. And reporting anonymously isn't just great for getting a tip if you give good information. It's also good to protect you if you're in a situation that could be dangerous.
And honestly, the anonymity part is the entire reason the Crime Stoppers exists. It's not really about the reward. It's always been to try to get information from people that are too scared to give it for whatever reason that may be.
Yeah.
And so the goal of Crime Stoppers is just to keep you anonymous so you can give the information that you want to give in order to help keep your community safe, solve a crime, or maybe even get help to somebody that needs it. Like, let's just say in this case, whether you have they're breaking into a laundry room, they may be doing it because they need to support a drug habit.
Yeah.
And maybe you know them, maybe this is a relative, by reporting them in, this might actually get them the treatment they need.
Yeah.
It's not just getting them in trouble, it might actually be helping them. This might be the rock bottom they need to then move out of that.
Yeah, and I know with some of the numbers that you can use to call Crime Stoppers, they are 402 numbers, so it is obvious if someone is looking through your phone that you've called a Nebraska number. There's a star number, isn't there?
Yep.
Walk me through that.
There's one. We haven't really pushed it much yet. We're probably going to be doing that soon as a board. But nationally now, they have a star tips, as in TIPS. And what you do with, you call that, that's going to then route you exactly to the same like call center you're pretty much going through when you call our number. The nice thing about that is they're always going to basically track like what county are you in when you call, and then that will then tie you back to where you are. So let's just say if you call Star Tips in Lincoln because you're giving a tip on cases, and then you go on vacation and you're in California and you see something happen, you can call the exact same number, and then it would go to the Crime Stoppers that's in that area.
Yeah.
So in that way, it's nice because it's a national number as opposed to like here in Lincoln, we're just using a local number right now.
Yeah, yeah. Jared, we do have another kind of more fun thing to talk about.
Yes.
Zoo Dennett's coming up in, oh my gosh, can I do the math? What day is it today?
Should I wait to see if you can do it?
16th?
Yeah.
It's today the 16th?
So it'd be what, 9 days?
Oh.
Yep.
Still got it.
We're getting pretty dang close. So this is next Friday, and if you want tickets, this is pretty much going to be your last chance because there's not a lot of tickets left at this point. So if you want to get them, you probably ought to scan that code on the screen there, or you can go to LincolnCrimeStoppers.com, and I think the first post on the Crime Stoppers page is a link to this event. This is just a fundraiser event for the Crime Stoppers program, but the cool thing is it's going to be a fun event because we're going to be at the Children's Zoo, and you're going to have alcohol, food, non-alcoholic beverages, and then you're going to have a crime that occurs while you're there, and you get to be the investigator, solve the crime. You're going to have crime scene little displays from our actual crime scene unit officers from the police department there to help you walk through like how we would do this kind of investigation. It should be a really fun evening. We're really hoping to sell this sucker out and just have a great fun time.
Yeah, I think it sounds super fun. Tickets for one person, $75. Tickets for two or more, $70. That comes with, in that ticket you get alcohol, food, all of that stuff.
You got it, all of it.
Tickets are limited. It's not an everybody can come. Doesn't matter.
Correct.
What was the other thing I was going to talk about?
We also need to make sure that you're over 21 because there is alcohol at this event. So.
Yes. And all the money, does it go back to Crime Stoppers?
Yep. Every penny of this is going to go back to the Crime Stoppers program. One of the things that like most people don't know is Crime Stoppers is locally funded only. We don't get any federal, state, or city money to support this program. It really is the community that has to keep this program alive. And whereas we have money for rewards, we also need money for operating costs because there are certain things that the Crime Stoppers Board pays for that actually benefits the police department. For instance, the P3 tip app that you use on your phone, there is a component of that the police department is given so that they can actually see the tips. So the Crime Stoppers program pays for that program so that the police department can use it to get the tips that they're getting.
Yeah, and I'm going to pop us out of this picture-in-picture. I got to give huge props to whoever designed this. I love the magnifying glass. I love the giraffe. I love it. I think whoever did that did a great job.
You know who did that?
Was it you?
It was.
Oh, Jared! I love it. It's
Well, I'll
very
take it.
creative.
Thank you.
I love it.
I'm no graphic designer, but that
Well, I think you did a great job.
Thank you.
Do you have anything else you want to talk about or anything else we didn't cover
No,
today?
I'm embarrassed enough now. Thank you.
All right. I think that'll